So I was getting ready to film and then I realized I had no water. That is not going to happen during this video, so I had to go downstairs and get a refill. Can I get a refill? Yeah, okay. Never mind. Whatever happened to her? I think she was a one-hit wonder, right? Alkaline water for the win. Especially during pregnancy, it's really good for you. Anyways, that is not what we're talking about today. We are going to be talking about this thing that I have had to grasp, wrap around my head, and realize that this is going to be the future of my birth, which is labor induction at 37 weeks to be exact. In my last update, my 20-week update, I had recently just got the news that because of my hypertension, gestational hypertension, which means I developed hypertension, high blood pressure while pregnant versus previous to being pregnant. And because of that and the complications it can bring with me and with baby, I have to be induced at 37 weeks. So today I'm going to be sharing all the things that I'm going to be doing to help prepare myself for being induced, and also just kind of prepare myself for labor. I feel like now that I know when I'm going to have this baby, my like Virgo type A-ish personality has kicked into full gear, and it's like, okay, well, now that I know this information, it's go time. Like, I am ready to just go to preparation mode. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Okay? God, you know what? I will say, water hits so different when you're pregnant. I am drinking like an insane amount of water at night too, which is very counteractive. Like, I'm trying to sleep, I already have a hard time sleeping, and then I literally drink like half a gallon of water at night. It's ridiculous, but the thirst is just so real. I can't control it. Anyways, let's jump into the video. I do have my phone with me because I want to make sure that I stay on track, one, and oh my god, excuse me, I make sure that I hit all the points that I want to hit. I first want to say that labor induction is very common. From all the things that I've been like reading and watching and whatnot, about 30% of women have to be induced for birth at some point in time during their pregnancy, whether it's kind of like a last minute thing, or you're told like earlier on in your pregnancy, or maybe it's something that you choose to do yourself later on towards the very end of your pregnancy. So that was very, not comforting, but it was more like, okay, I'm not just like this rare case or anything. But I will tell you that, like, with my background, I mean, I've shared this before, but I have two girls. I've had two pregnancies, and both of them were delivered at a birth center. I had unmedicated vaginal births with both of them, with no complications, no medication, nothing. It was very, a very beautiful experience. And so going into this pregnancy, I wanted the same thing. I wanted to do the birth center. I wanted to have an unmedicated vaginal birth. Like, that was my birth plan, okay? So also, I have always waited until, I wouldn't say the last minute, but until I was pretty much in active labor to go to the birth center. One of the things that I really had to wrap my head around that was like, wow, that's gonna be so different, is the fact that I will be doing my labor from start to finish in the hospital. Which brings me to number one, ways that I'm preparing myself for labor induction, okay? The first thing is wrapping my head around the fact that this is probably going to take a very long time. And it's going to take a long time because it's going to feel a lot longer because all of my laboring is going to be done at the hospital. Like I said before, I've always labored at home, for a huge chunk of my labor, okay? So there's like the early labor and then there's active labor. And you usually don't go to your hospital or to your birth center or call your midwife at home, depending on where you're having a birth, until you're in active labor, okay? That's when you're like, contractions are super strong, they're very close together, your water has broke, like you're ready to start pushing, you're ready to start getting baby out, right? That's not happening at the hospital. I'm being induced, which means that they are starting the labor process at the hospital. And I have been reading and watching a ton of videos, okay? Like for the last 2 weeks, I've probably watched, oh my God, like 50 videos on labor induction, just so that I can get an idea of like, what does this mean and like, what does this process look like? And a lot of these stories have been very long, okay? We're talking 12, 15, 20, 30, 3 days. I mean, it's pretty intense, but I think one of the ways that I can help prepare myself is knowing that it's going to be a long process, or it's going to feel like a long process, because everything is being done in this space where you think you're ready to kind of rock and roll and start pushing. No, you're doing all of it there. So that's one way that I'm just kind of wrapping that around my head, like this is going to be a long time, so like prepare for that, which I'll talk about like my hospital bag. One of the things that I'm going to add to it is just like some entertainment, because I am going to be at the hospital for a very long time. There's going to be a lot of dead time. So I'm going to get bored. As much as I'm going to be doing a lot of things to kind of help wrap my head around I'm in labor and like birthing techniques and breathing and all that kind of stuff, there's also going to be time to kind of like, I don't know, play a game with Brandon, my husband, or listen to an audiobook or watch a show or do other things besides focusing on the fact that I'm waiting to have a baby, okay? The other thing around like wrapping my head around labor induction is understanding I'm not sure what type of induction I'm going to get and what's going to work and what's not going to work. So essentially there's like multiple different stages of induction from what I understand. They can do like manual inductions where they'll do like the membrane sweep, which will kind of go in and kind of sweep everything out to kind of start getting your cervix ready. There's also like a balloon that they can put inside of you, which just sounds super uncomfortable, and it just kind of gets your cervix to start dilating. So those are kind of two like manual ways to do it. And then there's like the medication ways, which is like Pitocin is one, and I forget the other one. Yeah, don't quote me on. I forget the other one, but there's basically two different kinds, which is more of a drug, a medication that they put inside of you to kind of help start the contractions and the labor and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And they can obviously break your water too. So sometimes people start going into labor naturally from the manual things, and sometimes it takes the medication stuff as well. So I am trying to really understand what all of that means, so that I'm very, very, very well aware when it comes to that time, when they start having those conversations with me, I already like, okay, yep, I know what that means. Okay, yep, I know what that means. So I'm not blindsided or I'm like confused or like what's going on. It's like, no, I'm very much aware of what's happening. So I just feel more confident to be able to advocate for myself if necessary. All right, so number 2, the second way I am planning to help wrap my head around the fact that I'm being induced at 37 weeks. Understanding that my plans might change, okay? So I have a birth plan in place and it's not finalized. And I still have a lot of things that I need to like kind of figure out, which I do have my kind of like my labor conversation appointment next week, so I'll be able to get a lot more information about what labor induction is going to look like at the hospital. So I'll be able to kind of formalize what my birth plan is going to be. But with that being said, I know that my birth plan is going to be written in pencil. Okay. Again, getting a lot of information from other women who have had labor inductions, realizing that things change very rapidly. You could be thinking one time, okay, I'm going to go through I'm going to have an unmedicated vaginal birth because that's what I want to do. But I realize when I'm on Pitocin, my contractions are completely unbearable, and I have been laboring for 36 hours or something. And at that point, I'm so tired and exhausted that I just want some comfort, and I just want some rest, and I just want to not feel any more pain, right? So I have a birth plan of having another unmedicated vaginal birth that is written in pencil, but I'm also in a space now where I understand that this is going to be a completely different labor for me. And yes, I have a lot of different techniques and different things that I want to do to be able to have the type of birth that I want, but also understanding that I may have to erase some of those things and do what's best for me and do what's best for baby. So it's a really hard pill to swallow because I have enjoyed labor and birth so much with my last 2 pregnancies. It has been like some of the most amazing, beautiful experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And of course I want to do that again. But this baby here is like, listen, girl, this pregnancy is going to happen the way it's going to happen, and the birth is going to happen the way it's going to happen. You don't have much control over that. So for me, it's like, yep, let's write it down, let's get it set, but also knowing that that lovely eraser might come out during this process too, and letting it go and being okay with it. Okay. All right. Oh, another thing too is like just knowing that during my labor, although I said epidural is like kind of one of the things that might change, but also like when I was birthing at birth centers, there's no monitoring. Like they have the Doppler, which will check the baby's heartbeat, they may check your blood pressure here and there. But I'm not connected to anything. There's no IVs, there's no the monitors around your belly, there's none of that. So I'm just like roaming freely, kind of doing my thing. But that may not happen at the hospital. I might have to have an IV if I get Pitocin. I may have to be monitored for my blood pressure, for baby, for me. I might not be able to get into the water. My hospital has a tub to be able to labor in the water. So you know, there's a chance that I might not be able to do that. So these are just things that like I know that I want to do, but there's a chance I might not be able to do them, and being okay with knowing that. Okay, I'm being a blabbermouth, so hopefully I can edit this enough so you get straight to the point. All right. The third way that I'm going to kind of help me prepare for labor induction, and this is just for birth in general, is hypnobirthing. So that is something that I had did with both of my pregnancies, and I found to be very effective for me. I think a lot of labor is mental. It's one of those things that you really have to, like, for me, get into a different headspace and a zone to allow you to concentrate and focus on what's happening within your body, and understanding your body is doing something that is very natural. Like, you were born to experience these things. Your baby is going to come, and hypnobirthing for me allows me to have the language and the techniques to be able to get into that space. So if you're not familiar with hypnobirthing, it's kind of like guided meditation that gets you into a slight hypnosis state. So it's not like you're completely hypnotized like traditional like TV ways where your eyes are turning into like circles and stuff. It's not like that, okay? But it's a little hippy dippy, but listen, I love it, you know what I mean? It worked for me. But I kind of look at it as like a guided meditation, and for me, it really helps me not only prepare for birth, because it's something that I'm actually started doing already, but it helps me change the language around what we normally talk about when it comes to birth. So, for example, instead of saying contractions, you say surges. So you're looking at these painful things as things that your body is supposed to be doing, and your body is doing these things so that you can meet your baby. Okay, so that's just kind of like a tiny little snippet of like what hypnobirthing is. I have this like audio course that I have downloaded from Apple Music. I used it the last time. It worked really well. It's something that I'm going to be playing pretty much every single week, a couple times a week. I'll have it playing while I am laboring as well, just to kind of remind me of like how powerful my body is. What's happening is very natural, and my body was born to do these things, and the things that I am feeling in my body, the surges, the intensity, the pressure, is all just so that I can meet my baby soon. So if you're interested, go ahead and check it out. There's tons and tons and tons of information around hypnobirthing and courses and guides to help you get into it, and I highly, highly recommend it, no matter what kind of birth you're going to be having. Okay, so here's some other things that I'm going to be doing that is not directly related to labor induction, but these are things that I would be doing anyways, no matter what kind of birth that I'm going to be having. So the first one is leaning forward. So this is something I actually kind of learned recently because I've been having a lot of pelvic pain. And so I've just been trying to get some different like stretches and movements and different things that I can do to kind of help alleviate some of that issues. And one of the things I kind of learned was that if you start to lean forward more, you can get your baby in the position that it needs to be in for birth. And I won't go into all the details because I am not a doula, I am not a birth educator, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. But if you want to Google it, go ahead and leaning forward to prepare for labor. You get all the information that you want. But it's something that I'm going to start doing pretty much now, just to kind of help get things going. Oh, one thing I completely forgot to mention. I'm 28 weeks pregnant. I am officially in my 3rd trimester. And for me, everything that I'm doing or everything I'm talking about is stuff that I'm starting to do like as of kind of like today. Because to me, I'm like in a space in my head where I have like less than 10 weeks before baby comes. And so I need to do as much as I can to kind of help prepare myself and all the other things I have to do to prepare for baby, right? So the other thing I'm going to be doing, I actually kind of started doing already, is drinking raspberry leaf tea. I don't know why I paused. I for some reason thought there was like another word in between leaf, but there's not. It's raspberry leaf tea. Oh my god, I'm so tongue-tied today. Which is very common to drink towards the end of your pregnancy. It helps with your uterus. There's many other benefits, but we'll just stop right there because again, I'm not a birth educator. These are just things that I have learned along the way, okay? Another thing that I'm adding to the raspberry leaf tea is nettle tea as well, which is chock full of tons of vitamins. Helps with your womb health and also helps produce breast milk, which it's huge for me because I did struggle with breastfeeding both of my girls, and so I'm really like a huge component or huge I'm really trying to get into doing all the things I need to do to help produce as much breast milk as I possibly can, okay? So yeah, I'm gonna start drinking those, and I'll probably start drinking them once a day, like maybe 1 cup a day. And then once I get closer and closer to my due date or my induction date, I'll up that to a couple cups a day just to kind of help, you know, really get things rocking and rolling down there. Another thing that I'm going to be doing is eating dates. This is a new one for me. I've never done this before. Some of the other things I have already done before, but eating dates is something that's new for me, and it helps soften your cervix. So although I'm getting induced and they're going to be doing things to kind of help start the laboring process, I figure what's the harm of me doing some things on my own ahead of time to kind of help hopefully speed up that process or make it a little easier on myself. So eating dates to help soften my cervix, start eating them a couple times or a couple of them every day from now until labor, basically. So I just ordered some from Target, and so I've never tried a date before either, so hopefully they're good. I don't know if I'm a date person or not. I mean, I like raisins And yeah, so I don't even know if that's even a good comparison, but I guess we're gonna try and see if I like dates, because I don't know. Okay, so another thing I'm doing is stretching. So I've already kind of talked about that. I've been having a little bit of pelvic problems, some hip problems, so just kind of keeping my body is loose and stretched out, doing some deep squats, cat-cow, downward dog, just rolling my hips. I've been doing a lot of like partner stretches with Brandon too, just to kind of help alleviate some pressure off my back and hips, and just really focusing on stretching as much as I possibly can, just to keep things, you know, loosey-goosey down there, as loosey-goosey as they possibly can when you're 28 weeks pregnant and then beyond. Let's see. The other thing that I'm doing is increasing my therapy appointments. This is really to help with my mental health. I've been going to therapy for a couple years now, and recently I've been going like every other week, sometimes every 3 weeks. It hasn't been very frequent, but now I'm going to be increasing my therapy appointments to weekly, and that's really just so that I can help make sure that I'm keeping my mental health in good shape. Mental hygiene is what it's called, right? Is making sure that I have somebody that can be a sounding board for me, someone that can be encouraging to me, a cheerleader for me, to kind of help keep me in good spirits, and making sure that I'm able to communicate what's actually going on and how I'm feeling, because this journey has been filled with lots of ups and downs, and although I feel like I have a pretty good plan in place to help me go through this labor induction, I'm sure there's still going to be moments where I'm going to be like, oh, this is not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to do this. This is not my plan, you know? So as much as I feel good today, next week I could feel really awful, and then back to good. So having my therapist with me once a week, I think is going to be helpful, incredibly helpful. And then the last thing I'm doing to help prepare for labor induction is control what I can control and let go of the rest. It's really going to be kind of my mantra for the remainder of this pregnancy. My baby girl has taught me one of the biggest lessons that I think I really needed to learn, was I have to sometimes let go of plans. Sometimes I have to stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to be so obsessed with being in control. And understanding that everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. And yes, I can have plans, and yes, I can prepare, and yes, I can do all these different things. But at the end of the day, all I can do is control what I can control, and then let go of the rest. So that is my plan. That is what I am doing to help prepare myself for labor induction at 37 weeks. I'm currently 28 weeks today. Finally have entered my 3rd trimester. I am so ready. I am so ready to have this baby, and not in a sense of like, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable or I'm over it, but I'm just like, I think because I'm in full-blown preparation mode, that I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Oh, let's do a quick little bum shot, since it's been a few weeks since, oh my gosh, this is a button shirt, which, I mean, maybe not the best. Here, let's see. Let's get a better angle. There she is. My cool little caftan situation. It's so comfortable. But yeah, I mean, she's getting big. You see that? She's getting so big. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be like out to here by the time I'm ready to deliver. But yeah, so that's a little bitty bump. And that's all I got, friends. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up the video, comment down below. Comment down below if you had a labor induction and what are some things that kind of helped you prepare for the process, or some things that you wish you would have known before you were induced. I would love to know that information. I'm sure the community would love that as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you in the next video.